Hello everyone, Kurt over here, and welcome back to another episode from Homefitter Labs. Today we continue on Six Master Dagger, and today I get to also say that I was wrong. And I'm happy to say that I was wrong. Initially, when I was talking about this right here, about the Six Master Dagger, we go back to the second play where the guy comes up and his hand's on the inside. This one right here, we're talking about where the hand is much more just grabbing straight forward here. Initially, I thought it was just kind of grab as you go. And then this play came up here as I was going through once again. I was like, you know what? This is a totally different thing right here. But is it a totally different thing? Is the concept different? We're going to talk about why it is different. However, at the same time, too, it still goes back to the concept that I was trying to say before, at least in my opinion, about you get what you get in these nasty situations when it comes down to the dagger. So with that being the case here, we're gonna kick it off here and see how this is different, how it leads to the same concept of how you can grab into things, and also some just really nasty plays that you can do with it. So with that being the case, let's get into it. Okay, this week here, we're actually going to be going back to talk about something I talked about a few weeks ago. And I want to make a quick course correction here, because actually after looking at this, I do think I covered it both ways. However, I was treating it much more of a situation right here where one or the other can happen. Personally, I still think that the manuscript is talking that way, that's what you can do. The one I'm talking about is this one right here. This is the one from a couple weeks ago. And then this one we're talking about this week. The difference is the hand. So previously, we talked about coming up here and off of this. This is the one from a couple weeks ago. The one we're going to talk about this week, and he comes down and he stabs a person into this position, right? In the lower quarter, grabs whatever. This week, we're coming about how you come right here across and you grab into this grip. So essentially, we're going from, if we're talking about here, this is where, you love it. This might be the difference between first master, 1, or fourth master, from here, and I'm up, right? So I'm utilizing my hand is like this. Or I come here, in here, grab up, and my left hand here is in this position, okay? So we're taking a fourth master concept right here. So I'm going to say that here because actually a couple of weeks ago, I was like, initially I just thought this is how you grab this way. But again, I still see this as a possibility of how you grab this way, because regardless, these are not like, okay, you fought one person, they're going to give you an A or a B on this. No. This is just another way of dealing with that. So this one right here, just like fourth master, has got some weakness to it, but it does have something here that I find has got greater agency to cause harm back than the one prior. And the reason why I say this is I don't have to turn the wrist. So off the first covering mechanism here, I'm right here, and unlike last week where I have to turn over my hand into this, I just straight up come straight to the wrist. It's very fast. I can come right here and I'm right back in. It's very fast. It's very easy. So in, cover here, stick. It's very easy. Shot comes in. Good. Shot comes in. Boom. Here, stick. And mind you, he's being ooky right now. Of course, he might be kicking, screaming, throwing stuff at me. The point being is here just for what that thing is. Covering, keeping this on here, grabbing the wrist off this, letting go. In. Yep. Coming in here. This is stable. I've stopped the umph out of this. Letting go, grabbing the wrist. If I really don't like this guy, and I probably don't because he just took a knife at me, cut his wrist, stab him, whatever the case may be. That's the difference. From last week, we were talking about how he was like this, here, and coming over top. That's the major difference with these two. I always wonder why the difference with this right here, and I thought maybe he was just talking about what you can do with fourth master. However, that's not the case. The thing that is nice about this is he talks about how you can achieve a high bind. So in this case right here, the high bind as we know it, I'm here, right over left, in this position, and we talk about how we can come across this way and lock up his arm. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. First master's got something here where you pop across here. These are all upper bind. I'm basically I'm locking up his shoulder in this high position. That's what we're getting at. What Fiore says in this manual portion right here is that I can also put you into the high bind. So from there, shot comes in, I grab him, and essentially right here, I can again, if I use the process, take the dagger out of place, strike him, break his arm, and then throw him to the ground. I'm sorry, break his arm, bind his arm, and then throw him to the ground. So he tells him how we can go into the high bind from here. What I think is happening, if we're talking about how this becomes into place here, is we have got to be careful with our hands. That's a big thing about this. When your hands, one thing I saw in the Marine Corps is when you reload a magazine, if you ran dry and you had to put a fresh one in, you're not going to sit there and push the bolt lock release on the side. You're not. You're going to take your hand, you're going to stack the side of your rifle, because you're going to hit that little button right there with your hand, which is going to get that firearm back into action here. Why is that important to talk about here, and why am I talking about modernism to this? Regardless of the era, hands get sticky, mind gets crazy, everything gets small, and the focus gets very, very, very intense. So in this, it is very, very, very likely that if I'm not aware, which is more likely than not possible, I'm going to stab myself. In fact, actually, we were doing a training thing a couple weeks ago for one of our classes, where a person had come in with this, popped it off, and he came across and he grabbed the guy right here and he stabbed right here. Now the thing is, what you can't tell is like, oh, that looks pretty good. The thing is, my hand is here. This does not have a lot of meat or stopping thing right here, and it's very likely that as this goes through, I'm going to stab myself in the hand. Okay. What had happened was a student had stabbed a mask, and it stayed there. Well, of course, we're using a padded dagger right there, so nothing is actually going to go through somebody. But going into this right here, coming across the body here into that position, very likely, very possible, especially with adrenaline and other things right here, that you're going to hit yourself in the hand. Again, all of this right here is, again, to talk about how we may achieve that upper lock. So in that position here, up, here, and maybe I come down, I have his hand here in place. So this is actually quite strong right now, okay? And I can hit him, I can do these things right here, whatever. The question is, how do I lock him up with a dagger in my hand? He doesn't show this. So in my mind, if he understands that these things get sticky here, and because dagger become handle, well, if off of this here I've come, there's nothing saying I can't come over the top and lock him this way. In order for that to happen, that's a lot of motion with a lot of person still facing you on this. So as this comes in, it might be coming right here, grab his wrist, maybe I cut him, I stick him once, I want him malleable. I stick him once, I stick him twice, I pop over top this way, and now I have his wrist along that way. All I'm using that along the lines here. The thing that's dangerous about that is you're threading it through with the dagger. That is one way, which I don't necessarily know is the way. And I leave it up to you, dear viewers. Let me know what your thoughts are. The other way that happens from this is in this position here, come across, stick, 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 over top here, and now I just grab here with this from both my daggers are out of the way. The point being of this right here is that I'm making this shape, this upper lock, whether it is my hand over top this way, grabbing on top of this, or it is stick, thread, and take, either way does not matter. We're going to get a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing here. And I encourage you, please drop a comment out there, because this right here is something that is, like, how do we get somebody into this position? Ultimately, it could just be Fiore saying, hey, look, from this position, if you got the opportunity, that's a lot of real estate right there to throw them into the upper lock. That could just be what it is, okay? So let's get a little closer right now so you can see this. So in this case right here, dagger comes in off of this. I have my dagger here in place. I grab his wrist just like such. And from here, stab, stab, stab. I can either pop this across here and rotate and turn. You can already tell that's right here. But again, that's a lot of dexterity. A lot of dexterity. So here, maybe wrap and roll over top. Really nasty. Really, really, really nasty. Or from this right here, grab the wrist, pop over through this right here, and I'm using this portion right here where I hook like this. And now I can control him with the dagger in this case. Okay? Again, regardless of which it is, the point is we want them like this and we want them locked up. Break the arm, bind them, throw them to the ground. So once more time out here so you can see it at this distance spot. And pop here, thread, turn over top. And ultimately, I can also just get the dagger portion right here with this. That all right here gives me all the locking mechanism that I need. So here, brace, turn, hook over top, and I can just grab my dagger again, and I just go back to six master. Or here, off of this, stick and make it malleable, stick and make it malleable, pop and turn, and now I'm just going to utilize this over top here. So one more time here, a little bit faster. In, pop, stick, up, two through here. Or pop, here, stick them, here, hook down. Both of those, again, there's a lot of time. And again, I don't think that he's saying, go there. He states, I can do this, which means that the opportunity is there. So that right there is the difference between, again, from a couple weeks ago, which was the difference between this one and this one. Again, I personally think it's all circumstantial based upon how you actually make this cover, because this is a very messy situation in reality. And how we also achieve that upper lock from that six master dagger.
So you can see with the video here that when I mean that I was wrong, like I said, initially, the whole hand thing, initially in my mind, I'm like, okay, when you make that cover, you're not going to sit there and like, let me cheat. You know, what's on sale today? Oh, am I grab like this or grab like this? It's a messy situation. That's where I don't think that these two plays are that different. But what is happening here is, in my opinion, is that the maestro knew, look, it's a messy situation, and you're going to grab one of two ways. That's it. But once you grab in one of two ways, these are situations right here in which you can work and play out of them. Interestingly enough, this plays a lot more into the fourth master covers, which we saw earlier on, whereas the other one was more about into the first master covers, which is, to me, a very big part that I'm glad that I can correct myself on and see this in that type of direction. Because that makes, once again, that you've been doing the same thing over and over again. You're just adding tools to the trade. That's one of the things about Dagger that to me is very important, is that it reinforces to me that Armatsari is not, it's not sword fighting. Armatsari is Appatsari positions, mechanics of the body, footwork, and then you add this thing to your hand or maybe to your body that changes up a little bit about what you're doing, but not much. And from there, you are going to have to employ this new armament. You're being armed differently, which changes out the narrative. This one right here, I will tell you right now, as I said before, the upper lock. Now, he doesn't say how or what to do there. And personally, I think, once again, I hate using this word, but that's the genius of this book, or this person's perspective, or of his training, is that he's not going to tell you when you get up there, because at the situation, what happens if you draw and you're like this and you're like, oh God, I grabbed the wrong way and I have to make this cover here and I come up. Well, that doesn't mean I can't do this and play down into the upper lock this way. So what happens? So he says the upper lock. If we know what the upper lock is, which is the arm behind, where we lock it behind the person's shoulder, then we know, with our understanding of what this thing is in our hands, to explore what we have in that. Now, I'm also going to be very honest, and I said in the video, I'm not saying that this right here, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time right there to get the person to do something that you may or may not want them to do. That's the scary thing about this. Is this something right here that you can do? Potentially. But again, what is the sequence of operation when it comes down to Fiore's dagger? Take the dagger away, strike them, break the arm, bind them, and throw them to the ground. If I'm just going like this, and like, let me play up here real fast here, and this is a person that's got the mind of murder in their head, well, that's not going to work. But if I go in, pop, boom, 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 and now go into it, make the person change their shape, now there's opportunities in there. And again, what I'm saying is, and I don't think the maestro means like this will work every time. I think what he is saying is that these are options that happen if you put this together. And it's also if, because you don't know the other person. The other person, again, everyone has got an altercation of mind when it comes down to conflict. And that's a huge part of Armatsari, or just combatives in general, that are very important to remember. You may have the best technique in the world, but if that person's not complying, well, you're not going to apply that technique right there. That's not the time for it. That might be the time just to post a longa. Okay, now I can go into those things. Have to have a visimento. And you have to realize that not every technique, just because you want to pull it, is for you to pull in that moment. It may be very disadvantageous to do in that moment. And this play right here, Like I said, I'm happy to say that I was mistaken in the fact that, this is the one and the same right here. No, that's not the case. It is right here that he is talking about how you can do one or the other from that cover, and this is what you can do in addition to. And I think that right there makes this marvelous. So with that being the case here, love to hear your thoughts and considerations. How are you making the upper lock from this 6 master cover right here? Have you been taught to do that right here? Did you see the difference within the hands before within training? What are your thoughts and considerations when it comes down to softening blows, when it comes down to using the dagger right here? Do we think it's a one and done situation, or what have you been taught differently there? Love to hear what your thoughts and considerations are. With that being the case here, that's going to wrap up this video here. Again, as always, thank you so much, subscribers, and the people out there who have been sharing my videos. I love it. Thank you so much. Hoping to do more of that. Want to continue to grow this channel out there. And it's not possible without viewers like you or the ones that have tuned in this time. Please remember, hit that bell. Like I said, more content is coming every week, and hoping to be able to share more about this practice of Armatsari and just grow in the community more about understanding historical martial arts. So with that being the case, everybody, until next time, please, as always, stay safe out there, train well, and fight on. I'll see you all soon.